You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This will be more normal, unfortunately. Are the bowls and the things that we grew up with and the TV ratings for these things are still very good. People still enjoy it. The 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, 1st. I mean, this is kind of what people do. Day sports. Some matchups are better than others. There are too many bowls, but with the portal being what it is and the early signing date being what it is and the coaching changes being what it is, this is going to become more normal, and that's just the reality of it. Expanded playoffs, which is what you're going to get at some point. What does it look like? I don't know. Expanded playoffs will only hurt it even more. And that kind of sucks because it's like a playoff or nothing type scenario, and there is a purpose for this stuff, but there's just a lot of issues going on here. But those are my takes on this deal. I understood the reasoning. Don't know if I agree with it, but I also don't know all the moving pieces, and it's a mess. You don't want to go out there with like 45 kids and get your ass kicked. And it's like, what good did this do us? And we lost 1.2 million. So I don't feel sorry for the bowls because it's a weakened industry as it is, but the league is on the hook for commitments to it. And so anyway, something will break. This is kind of another crack in the foundation here.
I hope it's just kind of a market correction, and we will lose some on the back end. We'll never be talking about 5 and 7 teams in a bowl game. Maybe we don't even talk about 6 and 6s. I don't know. I'm hoping that those who are able to survive it and are considered, quote unquote, possibly more premier or at least top shelf beyond the playoff, maybe up their game in some way. Do you slice your boardroom in half and cut out that cruise in the summer? Possibly. Is there cash on the line? Are we in a player's era from an NIL standpoint with bowl games possibly in the future? I don't hate bowl games. I just don't care about bowl games in the sense that they were never a real postseason. They're kind of an antiquated format. But the only thing I'm really thinking here, Chris, and I agree with what you're saying about the variety of reasons why you could justify some of these decisions, at least in the Big 12 Conference. Notre Dame, you are sad and silly, and we pity you greatly. That is pathetic. But I feel for so many of those players, and not just players, but personnel, staff, whoever it might be, that are putting so much into it. And it is a decent culmination of a year. You know it's the end. And I would say if your program is stuck in a sad state of playoffs or bust being, that is only of your creation. Like if you can't make something of this as a coach or whatever it needs to be, then that's your problem. Yeah. I bet, Chris, BYU is anxious to go out there and wallop someone in the name of how they've been slighted. Maybe I'm assuming too much. I don't know. But that would sort of be the narrative for me if I was just on the outside, one of those hurtful spots to be in, is I really want to get out there and I'm going to punish whoever it is and take it out on them.
Yeah, because it is there's a business aspect of this deal, like you mentioned, and that was something that was and has been discussed. It's in like player contracts or was discussed about being in there, and bowls were talking about like, we'll pay you this much to play in our game and all that stuff. I don't know where that all is going to end up, but there's a cottage industry that the TV industry is living off of, and that bowls have existed for years. The bowl industry has grown too much. Okay. There are too many games. There just is.
Because it was so good, right? I mean, that's why there's more.
Probably, but you've seen some that have had a hard time finding or keeping a title sponsor, playing games at baseball stadiums, and just it's a bit of a novelty that's just kind of goofy.
The Bahamas,
the Bahamas Bowl,
yes, islands, which is gone, I believe.
Yes, but. They are, and maybe we're being too Pollyanna-ish here about it, but these are experiences for these kids. Get to go to a place in some cases that they've never gone before. I'm not going back to Memphis, hopefully never. But it's a chance to see someplace new and experience some history and just kind of
probably an unusual opponent. different conference.
Exactly.
I mean,
and outside the box that you
it
would
ain't got to be
normally
about touring Memphis or whatever necessarily. I get that, El Paso.
Yeah.
But it's a culmination of sorts. I think if you earn your way there, if you're an 8-4 football team, then go do it and make the most of it. That's up to you. But I just don't have a whole lot of sympathy for those that are like, well, now how can we even do it? Because it's playoffs are bust and we're so sad we can't even wake up the next day. Well, that's your choice, and that's pathetic.
Yes. Yeah,
I guess from the perspective of really going out there as well and trying to impress upon somebody the great mistake they made by maybe leaving your team out, maybe that's Pollyanna-ish. Maybe at this point in time, that's more of a fan's attitude. And I'm just upset because they're not there, but they don't feel the same on the inside. But there's going to be room for it. I do believe it because it is a holiday tradition. And like you're talking about TV inventory-wise, we're all watching. You'll watch an empty stadium. But the TV ratings are not empty, and that's why they hang around.
Yep. And some bowl games do a really good job with the ones that the Texas Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Holiday Bowl previously. I mean, there's some games I've had great, and I know the players that have been there have had great experiences and all that stuff. But it just is a sign that this is a sport that is. The ratings have never been higher. The money being generated has never been more, and yet it's broken. And this is just another issue that is kind of a byproduct of some of the other problems that exist. Realignment is at fault. Greediness is at fault. The way that they try to decide who the champion in this sport, with the committee and the metrics is broken. But the bowls are going to suffer some consequences here along the way. And I just don't know big picture what that all looks like, because the next thing is the calendar, which Joey's talked about. We've talked about that too. The other thing is that what's the different dynamic that comes with conference championship games? And I think the committee was very careful not to send a message via Alabama that now we're not going to kick you out, because then we're just basically saying these conference championship games, you can be severely punished here, and they just make way too much money. So we can't do that. So Notre Dame, you're not in a conference. You didn't play in any conference championship game. Yeah, you won 10 straight, but you started out 0-2. You lost to this ACC team, and you got beat by this SEC team at home. And so, there you go. But it will – I mean, the Pete Bavacqua, I think is his name, he's squawking quite a bit.
Great name.
There's a lot of people, barking. And hey, what everybody needs to hear on a selection Sunday, whether it be for football or basketball, everybody that bitches, everybody that complains, everybody that whines and cries and and is finger pointing, they all could have fixed it by doing one thing: just win.
Correct.
And you didn't. You did not. So you all have yourself to blame. But people will yell and scream loud enough to where there will be something that gets adjusted here. Whether the thing gets expanded. Do I agree that Tulane and James Madison are in the tournament to decide who the best college football team? No. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Of course.
They are not.
Notre Dame, University of Texas on the sideline.
Yeah, but those two teams are not two of the best teams in the country. But the way that the rules are structured, and so we kind of, so I don't know, but it is going to be a fascinating, and this is exactly why they kicked the can down the road and extended the deadline for looking at next year's playoff into January, because they wanted to see how this played out. Won't that be spirited?
Well, sorry, Notre Dame. You've got every conceivable advantage known to a singular institution, but it didn't work out this way. Should have just won more. I am taking note of those who are stepping up the plate and just talking about that. I think Vandy's head coach is saying the same thing. No, we came up short. That's what it's all about. I am not a fan of Steve Sarkisian of the University of Texas, but I agreed with his comments as well. There's a right way to finish the season for your program, your players, your everybody. And so that's what they're going to do. Everybody could have one more. And I don't feel to me, I don't subscribe to the broken theory because it was not operable or a
It's
well-oiled
always been
machine.
broken.
Correct. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I think more so growing pains. If I look at my teenager and he or she needs braces, I'm not going to say this kid is broken. I'm just going to say it's going to suck for a little bit, but this is growing pains. So you'll get on the other side of this with something better. Maybe that's too glass half full. I don't know. But I didn't like it originally because we don't any longer get our news by wire or travel to games on trains. So I think we needed to do something better. And I think we're trying to do that, but it is coming with growing pains. I think we'll figure it out, though. It's no reason to backtrack. I know some have just said out there, college football doesn't need a national champion, so we don't need this tournament. And maybe that's a theory that some of you agree with. I don't, but I won't begrudge it if you do. There are room for premier bowl games, whatever that group looks like. And I will think we'll have a correction with that number. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm kind of laughing, Chris, that some are like, this just makes bowl games seem like exhibitions now. Hello, welcome to Earth. They always were. There was essentially one or maybe two in an AP era that weren't. But I'm glad we don't have to think about this in a tech term other than hypothetically this time around, right? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And football is in full force, and FanDuel is keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Yeah, because I really don't know, Cowan. And I'm glad we'll never find out. I really don't know what this was going to look like if you didn't get to this point and say you were playing in the Pop-Tart Bowl or the Alamo Bowl. Because I think, I mean, you were on the cusp. I mean, had you lost the game to BYU, you weren't real sure where your fate was. We think you were going to be in. Had you lost and stumbled another time, and you just weren't sure how this was going to play out. But I would have been real curious what your roster would have looked like. We will never know. Thank goodness we'll never have to know.
But there would have been some things to talk about, wouldn't there?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you just don't, I mean, like, would it have made sense for David Bailey to play in that game? I mean, probably not.
I guess we'll never know, Chris.
We'll never know. You're right. But now this is NFL scouting tape now. Now you're going to go against you're actually going to go against some offensive linemen and some tackles that were on your radar a year ago for the University of Oregon, more than likely, which I think is interesting. Some guys that maybe we even mentioned their names playing the O-line for Oregon that maybe came in on visits or were being bandied about, and you ended up, getting some other folks. But yeah, now he'll be trying to get around those guys. But all comes full circle here. We went from Ben Roberts playing Oregon in 2023 to David Bailey going against guys and then a big bowl conversation in between. How about that?
That's why you should get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, because you never know what's coming and you don't want to miss any of it. Let's grow together, and we'll do our best to not complain about labor pains, but someday just show you the baby. Chris, appreciate your laboring time here today and all the time. Enjoyed our conversation. We are going to circle back and get back to plenty more here this week. Is also, do not forget, I know we're still in a football frenzy. Got a big one on tap we got to get ready for this weekend. So we'll be back to Texas Tech Hoops as we're looking ahead to an NCAA tournament rematch with John Calipari just a few days away. So plenty shaking this week and looking forward to it all, Chris. We will see you for the next one.
We love you all, people. Guns up always, and hope you're walking around the office wherever you are this week with your chest puffed out just a little bit more. And hopefully the sun, wherever you are, is shining just a bit brighter, because you two are a champion like Cowan and I are. You are a champ.
Correct. Words of affirmation. That's why you stay to the end of the show. Chris Level, upping production all across Red Raider Nation, I think, with that little spurring on wherever you may be today. Thank you for dialing us up. Appreciate the time as always. Get subscribed on YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks to the Everydayers and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.